Welcome back to my cave, once again, humans. In a previous video, I mentioned how disappointing a lot of dragon bosses were. Well, let's talk about some disappointing, not dragon bosses. Now, this is not every disappointing boss in existence. I have to admit, I haven't played a lot of popular games. I'm sure there's a lot of disappointing games and stuff like, from software games and whatnot. I just haven't played them. These are from games I have played. Some of these are a little personal, but I want to put in some more general bosses. I want to mix in some well-known bosses with some more obscure bosses, just to make the video a little interesting, and just because there's a few bosses I really want to talk about that I don't think anyone's really gonna care about unless I put some of these other bosses in the video. So, yeah. I do have to admit, though, to save time on this video, I took some footage from other people just to... It gets my point across, and I'll give credit in the description. But, I do want to preface that I actually have fought all these bosses. So, it's more due to just, I don't want to go back and fight them and just to get footage. So, like I said, I'll provide my sources in the description. Let's start with a classic. Super Mario 64. Everyone loves this game, apparently. Just like everyone loves Sonic Adventure, apparently. But regardless of how well you think either of those games aged, I think we can all agree on one thing. The bosses are complete and total pussy shit in this game. Including the main villain and one of the most iconic video game villains of all time, if not the most, Bowser. I mean, for starters, he tells you how to beat him. That's already not a good place to start. Plus, he doesn't really do much to stop you from getting to the back of him. Sure, he'll spin around, he's not that quick, he'll breathe fire, but that just leaves him open. But the worst thing about this boss, he dies in one hit? Are you kidding me? Like, I get the first Bowser fight is really early in the game, but how much of a pansy do you have to be to die in one hit? Well, defeated in one hit, but you get my point! What really sucks is his intro is badass. He's just this big, intimidating, cumbersome beaver. He stomps the ground, shakes the screen. It's honestly pretty awesome. And this is how easily he goes down. I get it, it's more spectacle than anything, but come on. But, okay, you fight him again, later on in the game. And this one's gonna be much harder, right? I mean, he gets a couple more tricks he can use against you. I guess that's something, but he still dies in one hit. Are you kidding me? It's not until the third and final fight against him where he finally takes the traditional 3 hits to beat. And, I have to be honest, this is probably the best fight in the game. Not gonna lie. But, to be fair, that's not saying much. Like I said, the bosses in this game are stupid. Still, Bowser is pretty awesome. He deserved better than those first 2 fights. He may have redeemed himself, but his first 2 fights are still lame. Next, let's go on to a more personal pick. From one of the most iconic video game turtles of all time, to a far, far less iconic video game turtle. But still kinda cool. Let's talk about Shining Soul 2. I have kind of a soft spot for this game, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a very flawed game. And, The inconsistent bosses are one of the reasons that this game doesn't really hold up that well. The first 5 bosses get progressively harder, even to the point of being incredibly frustrating and inducing emotion sickness. But then you get to the 7th boss, Vitali, a turtle sage who has been corrupted by chaos. At first he starts out as this weak old turtle guy before spontaneously turning into this thing. No sparkling shine, no transition of any kind, just transform. Though I have to admit, that turtle he's pretty cool. The long toenails are kinda weird, but other than that, this boss is pretty awesome looking. His attacks include spinning around while homing in on your general direction.
And that's it?
Yep, that's it. That is all he does the entire fight. He can also snap at you with his head, but come on, you're never gonna be hit by that. Especially since his head shoots out randomly. You're supposed to cut off all 3 of his legs before you can hit the head, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever, I guess. Like, seriously, that's it? That's all he does is spin around and home in on you? He doesn't shoot projectiles or leave traps or anything? Hell, if you're smart about your placement, you're never gonna get hit by him. And if you do get hit, you'll probably take a lot of damage when you're getting cornered. But if you know the right tricks, you will avoid that. There is nothing stopping you. This is all he does. Ay. Should I make a separate video? Turtles are pussies. Ay. Good old Chrono Trigger. This game is... Look, I know it's considered one of the greatest games of all time, but I could never really get into this. I couldn't even get into most JRPGs that were made at the time. Not even Breath of Fire. Both of the Super Nintendo games, to be honest. Although I still really love the rosters of those games. I did, however, play up to the Black Tyranno. This guy is honestly the big reason I even bothered with this game. He's got some features, although that's a potential topic for another day. But more importantly, he's a frickin' T-Rex. And, can I ask what it's supposed to do on the top of this tower? I mean, this seems like the absolute worst location for him to be in. This is like the location where his abilities are the absolute most limited. But, sure, whatever. You fight him at the top of a tower, whatever, I guess. The big problem, however, is that the fight really just isn't hard. The Black Tyranno and his buddy fight you together for the first part. You have to beat his buddy before you beat the Dark Tyranno, and the big problem is their attacks don't do that much damage. The Dark Tyranno's attacks are a little stronger, and the Dark Tyranno can basically not be hurt until his buddy is dead. But even together, they don't do that much damage. The Dark Tyranno does have one cool attack where he sucks you up, deals damage, and heals himself, which the healing aspect doesn't really matter right now because he basically can't be hurt until his friend is dead. And, speaking of which, this literal bird brain has a move that takes 6 turns to charge! It's not even an insta-death move where you gotta kill him quick or else he will wipe you out kind of move. It's just basically strong. If you have a stockpile of tonics, there is no reason you should lose this fight. Hell, the mid-boss before him was harder to beat. It's honestly kinda sad. Like, this is how the dinosaurs die off, with kind of a whimper. Like, this is the best they have to offer. This big-footed idiot who just... 6 turns to charge and attack, and he does nothing else while he's charging! No wonder the dinosaurs went extinct. Okay, I'm going into really obscure territory here, but you know what? Hippos are fucking awesome. In media, they do not get the representation they deserve. They're always portrayed as these fat, goofy, huggable whatevers, when really, in real life, they are vicious murder tanks. They are a fuck around and find out kind of animal. You do not want to mess with a hippo. They are one of the most powerful and dangerous animals on planet Earth, and they rarely get portrayed that way. So when I found an NES game called Amagon that actually does try to portray hippos accurately, well, of course I wanted to play it. Amagon is a pretty standard platformer. Typically nothing to write home about, but come on, when else am I gonna be able to talk about this boss? When you first meet this intimidating behemoth, you don't really get much. Just a pair of eyes behind a waterfall. Okay. It'll appear momentarily and shoot out arcing globs at you. But once you do enough damage to his eyes, that's when the second phase of this fight starts. This isn't no cuddly hippo. This is a fucking real hippo. This thing only has coldness and murder in its eyes. And this was on the NES. All the way back then, when we thought hippos were these cuddle bugs. This was the game to break that cliche. And honestly, this would be pretty awesome were it not for the fact that this boss is a complete and total pushover. Like, you saw the trick, right? He summons these big arcing blobs, but they can barely touch you if you stand in the corner, where you have a safe place to stand until he shoots his farthest blobs, then all you have to do is jump. Look, already, are you kidding me? But let's say you run out of ammo, because you do not have unlimited ammo in this game. That makes them harder, right? Not really. Your strategy changes, but it's still pretty simple. Just jump in time with the blobs, get your shots in, it's really not that much harder. Again, another disappointing thing, like, hippos are one of the most awesome creatures on planet Earth, and this is how easily this thing goes down. It is literally the easiest boss in the game, and it's the third boss in the game. Normally that's reserved for the first or second boss in a game. I didn't mention the first phase as much, but honestly it's not much harder. Kinda the same deal. Sure, you have to move to get in position to shoot him, but once again, just stand in the corner to avoid his attacks. Sometimes he won't even be able to shoot that far. Sadly, neither phase is really all that strong. But I didn't talk about this one as much because this is just a pair of eyes, not a big, intimidating demon hippo head. You know, for such an obscure NES game, though, that's a pretty cool graphical trick. God, I wish this were harder. Alright, no more personal picks. Let's end with a big classic. And I'm sure there were a lot of disappointing bosses in this one, but I want to talk specifically about the granddaddy of disappointing bosses. I mentioned it before in my CastleVania video, but I used to play the hell out of CastleVania games. I have had to have clocked in at least 200 hours into this game. I'm not gonna lie. But I have to admit, the bosses are a bit of a mixed bag. The bosses range from a pretty decent challenge like Galamoth or Lord Dracula himself, but yeah, let's rip the band-aid off and talk about the nostalgic throwback bosses based off the first CastleVania game. To start off, we have Darkwing Bat, based off the giant bat boss from the first game. He's got some cool moves like blowing you away with those wind gusts and that cool drill attack, but he doesn't have much health, and once you figure out the trick with that gust attack, it's not gonna harm you. Akmadin 2's got a few decent tricks, like summoning poison clouds when he flinches, and that 0-frame grappling attack that takes off most of your health. But poison doesn't really do much in this game, and he relies on close combat. Not very hard. So if you want to experience hell, try and fight him with just your fists. The creature has this rolling attack that gave me a little problem when I was a kid, but as an adult, I don't understand why I struggled with this attack. And other than that, old Frankenstein's monster has this ridiculously telegraphed hammer strike. You are never gonna get hit by that hammer. Oh yeah, and as for Medusa... Enough said. But you don't care about any of those weenies. You care about Death, Thanatos, Nerul, the Grim Frickin' Reaper. Dracula's right-hand man. He's supposed to be the most powerful creature in the game, next to Dracula himself. Surely he will give a decent fight, right? Right? Do you think he'd even be in this video if he was? He has 5 phases, but you're probably not even gonna see the 3rd phase with those cool glow skulls. His first phase just has him floating around while the sickles rain down. His second phase is him taking a ridiculously long time to charge up these orbs, which you're probably going to do enough damage to bypass the 3rd phase. The 4th phase has these admittedly cool red sickles that could give you a little bit of problems, but you've probably done so much damage to him that they're probably not going to kill you quickly enough before it gets to this phase, the 5th and final phase, where he turns into this thing, and he only has 2 really basic attacks? Are you kidding me? Like, I get this was before a lot of other games where he would get really cool attacks in both forms, but come on! That was the best they could come up with for him. A generic downward swipe and a generic boomerang throw. That's it. That's his arsenal in this form. Are you kidding me? This is the Grim Frickin' Reaper! This is the right-hand man of Dracula himself! Why is he such a pussy in this game? They turned what is supposed to be the most intimidating and powerful creature in Dracula's arsenal into a fucking joke! Alright, I think I need some time to calm down. Maybe I'll do another one of these videos if I think of more bosses I find disappointing, or bosses I think might have disappointed other people. But for now, I think this is a good place to leave it. Until next time, I'm Bal, and the cave is closed.